And welcome to this edition of the Mayor's Corner. My name is Jim Brown, Mayor of Cedar Falls, and today's topic that we're going to be discussing is an exciting topic for our city. It's the growth we've had the last couple of years, some specific numbers towards this last fiscal year, and then bringing things together as these projects have been started and completed within our city to affect and to assist our city as a whole. Today with me I have Craig Witchery. He is part of the city inspections, building inspections, and Bob Seymour as well, one of the planning managers. Gentlemen, welcome. Appreciate you coming to the show today.
Appreciate it.
This is always a fun program because we get to maybe brag about our city a little bit. For all the departments involved within City Hall, it's not just you two, it's not just the elected officials, it's everybody doing their part to make sure we're good now, and that hopefully leads to a better future. So I'll start off real briefly. As was announced a couple of weeks ago, the city hit another milestone with new permit dollars. It was over $100 million again, the second year in a row. 113 million, is that to be correct? What was nice, it seems to me, is that growth was industry-wide. In other words, it was housing, residential, business, commercial, industrial, and all over town as well, which we'll discuss and get into a little bit here. But historically, Bob, I'd like to go to you first. You've been around a while.
Yes, I have.
You've seen these numbers come and go, and talk a little bit about the sustainability we've had over the last number of years, because for a city our size, 80 to 100 million is considered an extremely good year. And so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, Denny and I were talking before we started here too. Back in 1990, when I started here, if we did 20, 25, 30 million dollars, that was a very solid year. And then we inched that up to 50 million, then 70 million, and then we finally hit 100 million, I think, in 2012. But for a community our size, hitting $100 million is something to be proud of. That's a lot of activity, a lot of new development. Coming off 152 million, as you mentioned, Mayor, that was our record by over 30% over our prior record. And there's always that concern that after you have a year like that, you might be set for a little bit of a downfall. But this year we had $113.5 million, another very strong year, probably our third or fourth best year ever. So we're very pleased. I think that's a good sign for this community that things are vibrant, active, and we don't see anything slowing down in the future.
So when we look at those kind of numbers, I for one, I think many folks would agree that cities need to be growing. If they're not growing, there's a negative effect to that. So Craig, I'm not asking if you have any concerns per se of the great growth we've had, but to be mindful of the city services that need to catch up with that kind of growth, are we on track? Are there things to look out for in the near future, the long term, in terms of making sure the citizens are being taken care of towards this growth we're having?
Yeah, I think we are. We are having some wonderful growth. There's no question about that. And like you said, $100 million is really a really nice year for the city of Cedar Falls, our size city, and my experience with the city. So when we hit that number and above, we're really doing well. I think that as far as the building department's concerned, we're able to keep up. We're running hard, but we're able to keep up. And our goal is to, of course, have a nice, safe, productive building, safe for our citizens and for the occupants and the people that work in there. And that's our goal. And at least to this point, we've been able to keep up. And we're very proud of the finished product when we get it done.
Our staff has just been phenomenal. Being as streamlined as we are, we're saving taxpayer dollars. I think one of the figures I'd heard over the last few months is that we have for the amount of employee or amount of population we have, we're as streamlined as they can get. And of course the danger is we don't want to overwork our folks, but the fact is we're very efficient for these things that we're getting done for this growth. Let me touch briefly on the residential growth we had this last fiscal year. 151 residential homes that are new?
Yes, we had 151 dwelling units
Okay.
that have been issued, and that would include single family, and duplexes and townhouses. That's where our number in Cedar Falls has always been collected. It's the International Residential Code. So the permits that are issued for those types of structures are tracked in that regard. 151 was another very good year for us. We're up again. We have seen over other years as high as 200. But I think a lot of that, Mayor, is driven by the infrastructure that we have out there. I think our demand has always been there, and it's always been very good. Sometimes our infrastructure gets a little bit short. We're getting a lot of good development now, and I look for our infrastructure to be very adequate and our numbers to maintain in that area.
And I think at least for me, not being an expert in your world, with the new school going up southwest of town,
Yes.
that might be what you're touching on there.
Yes.
Is you build a new school and everyone knows it's probably going to maintain some good value and of
Absolutely.
course some convenience for families coming in.
Absolutely, that's just another big plus in our favor. Yes.
Absolutely. Let's switch down to some specifics. I'll kind of reach out to both of you. I'll start with you, Bob. As one would drive around the city, they're going to see projects that may have just been approved or discussed at City Council and some projects that have been completed. Geographically, we can start downtown. Of course, it's an award-winning downtown for what those folks at Community Main Street do, Carol Lilly, who runs that, and the wonderful volunteers throughout that corridor. But we have State Street that has popped up. And can you go through a few of those as we discuss?
Absolutely, and I think you made a good point in your introductory comments about, Craig hit on the residential and various types of new development that's happening. We're very fortunate, we're seeing it in all areas of town, College Hill, downtown, the industrial parks, University Avenue, Viking Road, Pinnacle Prairie. We're not focused in one area, and that's what we like to see. So we do have that growth occurring all over the city, and downtown State Street has certainly been a catalyst for that. And right now there's actually 3 buildings that are, actually 2 of them that are complete along State Street. We had our 300 State Street residential building that was done about 2 years ago now, Mayor, and that's 21 new residential units and about a $3 million project that's been leased up now for about 2 years. The second building, 200 State Street, is likewise a mixed-use building. It's also the home of the new Millrace Innovation Center, which we're very excited about. And there's retail on the first floor, office on the second floor, and 24 units of apartments up on the main floor. And then right now, if you go down to the end of 2nd Street, you'll see a building that's got some green fiberboard on the exterior right now that's under construction, as shown in this graphic right here. And this is a three-story, all residential unit building that should be done here sometime late fall.
So going back, maybe folks are putting this together in their minds as well, but we're seeing all those units leased downtown, residential units. But yet we're also seeing 151 new dwellings. So do you think that's the magic question folks ask me all the time? Where are these folks coming from? Are they moving here? Are they transferring from a starter home to the next size home? Do you have any thoughts? Is it just the increase because of everything going on in our city? Or are we going to see the next consensus where we might be growing by 1,000 or 2,000? Any thoughts on that, Craig?
I think we're growing, to be honest with you, Mayor. I really do. A lot of what I hear on the residential side is John Deere and some of our other businesses in Cedar Falls are constantly bringing in new people, and so they're buying new homes and that type of thing. I honestly think that we're growing, and we're putting in more commercial businesses, which brings more people to the job market in Cedar Falls. And then consequently, they want to live in Cedar Falls. I mean, we've got an awesome community here, so I'm a little prejudiced, but we have an awesome community, and people want to live here, quite frankly.
I would agree as well. And Bob, that second building on State Street, you mentioned the Millrace, and I've been saying publicly that really, in my humble opinion and many others, is maybe the potential next generation of what we had 25 years ago in the industrial park. Because of the wonderful partnership we have and the citizens and their involvement over the years to bring in CFU as a publicly owned entity, they're now testing the 10 gigabit network and framework to this Millrace building. If and when that happens, we're getting enough publicity and companies coming from out of state and around the world to land in Cedar Falls because of our gigabit. What's going to happen when it's 10 gigabit and we're the only city in the world that has that access door to door and home to home?
Yeah. As you mentioned, Mayor, CFU has been a great partner with our economic development efforts, and the Millrace Innovation Center is certainly kind of what I call the new wave of economic development, taking those entrepreneurs that are startup companies, new ideas, new products, new development, and having a place where they can all congregate, bounce ideas off of each other, and really work on on putting their business plans together and growing a new company. And obviously the intent is once they get large enough and may need to move out of that innovation center, we have our industrial park, our corporate park, where it'd be a logical move for them to get out on their own, have their new building. So we really like to think we can handle them from the idea concept all the way through where they're actually a full-blown company, adding new jobs and needing a new facility.
It's exciting. Let's continue, and we'll try to move through this as quick as possible because there's so much great things to talk about, really, about each development. But I think we're downtown State Street. We also have, I believe, Clay Street that was just approved. I forget what they're calling it.
604 Clay Street.
604
yeah.
Clay, you know those off the top of your
Absolutely.
head. So that development was approved and moving forward among a few other downtowns.
Yeah, it's neat. Not only the State Street project, but the old Wolverton building seeing complete redevelopment with Braceability, a local startup company, and also the Second State Brewery. So they took an old building that needed a little help and invested significant amount of money into that project. And like you said, 604 State Street, the old Medical Associates building, is going to be renovated as well. And again, here you see the Second State Brewing building with the new glass work and update, and a significant investment by both Second State Brewing and Braceability, as I think we're going to show right here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
in this area here, you never know where the hub becomes or where gathering spots are, but as City Council has been discussing potential things to do with the river for those sort of areas of recreation. You have those nice State Street buildings, the brewery that you mentioned there, and other buildings going up. It could be very exciting to even see the future of the downtown moving as it has in the past.
yeah, I think what's really neat too, Mayor, and we talked about this briefly, this whole process along State Street, the mayors, prior mayors as well, and the council really had the foresight back in the 90s to go ahead and start buying that property along the river when it became available. In the early 90s, Standard Golf used to be down there. They had a fire. We picked up their site. We purchased several other sites as they became available, and the council had that foresight to acquire that property with the long-term intent of doing a major redevelopment along the river. And you only get that opportunity once to do it right, so we were patient, and it's worked out just as well, if not better, than what we had hoped for starting 20 years ago.
That's fantastic. So let's move on in terms of the College Hill. There's developments happening there, some obviously by motivation for developers and what can be happening on the hill, some unfortunately by accidents, because one, it had to do with the fire. But talk a little bit through here in terms of this 23rd Street on College Hill.
Yeah, this is a project that actually, if the citizens remember, this was an old rental house that was in pretty rough shape, and it was demolished 12 to 18 months ago. And the new project's called Urban Flats. It's about a $2 million project here that will bring a couple of retail storefronts, as you see here in the footage, along with apartment units up above. And this is kind of the transformational project here that I think we all wanted to see with the city involvement of trying to jumpstart new development up on College Hill. So this is supposed to be done here in the next 30 days and occupied for this upcoming UNI class year. And great project. I think it's only one of many that we're going to see here, along with the 21st and Olive Apartments that were completed about 2 years ago now. Again, adding new investment, new redevelopment in that area.
That's just off the hill on off College Street.
21st and College,
right.
That's correct.
A far cry from the apartments we may have had going to UNI 30 years ago.
Yeah, I joke with my college kids right now, it's a little bit different residential unit than I lived in.
Yes.
Yep.
So it is exciting. We have new investors coming in. You mentioned one of those bad cases that turned into a positive with the Great Wall. Brand new building that's under construction right now. It's going to be a nice upgrade to that corner. And we're really seeing that momentum up on College Hill start to kick in.
Right.
So moving on a little bit further, as part of our city, the Southern Industrial Park. My goodness, the last 18, 24 months, an incredible investment from those that see the value of planting themselves and growing their existing businesses in Cedar Falls. In fact, that's something important to point out. There's businesses that have been here for a long time that they don't go outside the city. Some might, and we understand that reasoning behind it. But this is a good example with Martin Brothers. Wonderful family, wonderful investing in our community. We see their trucks all over the place, even if we travel out of town. And here they are building an incredible expansion in the Cedar Falls Industrial Park.
Yeah, it's a great project, as you mentioned. Second or third generation company that's had the opportunity probably to locate wherever they want, Mayor. And they have been steadfast in staying in Cedar Falls, growing in Cedar Falls, and is a great partner on our economic development efforts. They just completed a $15 million freezer expansion to their existing site. And I think they have over 500 employees now and have a huge impact on our local economy. Again, it's really important that we stay in touch with them, work with them, and build that relationship. And they've been great for the community, great community supporters, and just one of the numerous long-term companies that have started in Cedar Falls and have decided to expand here. Mudd, another great example. They have their advertising campus here. They just built a new 15,000 square foot multi-tenant office building that Craig and his staff just issued occupancy here in the last several weeks. So yeah, there's a lot of great things here, and obviously the big one that was announced several months ago was the Ashley Distribution Center from South Dakota. They now are fully under construction, 150,000 square foot building, a little over $7 million, and they'll be adding at least 50 new jobs here once they're fully operational. So we love when those companies from outside the city look at us and want to be here, and this was just a great fit.
Well, and I remember conversations with the folks from Ashley Furniture. They were just thrilled to be in our city. As we showed them around, had lunch, or just discussed what needed to be done, they were ecstatic to be able to continue their growth in our great city. Let me tie one more quick thing together, because you know, the Mudd family doing the investment they did in the city, as I understand, I won't get this completely right, so I'll be somewhat vague, but years ago, Mr. Mudd started as a very small sole proprietor, and as his ideas grew and entrepreneurial, say it for me.
Yeah,
entrepreneurial spirit.
I have the same thing sometimes. It doesn't come out the way you want it to.
With my mouth keeping up with my brain. But that kind of spirit grew into what we see now, where someone is successful. They're employing people. They're doing services all around the country, and I think all maybe North America. And now this complex, they're continuing to build and invest. That's what I see at State Street. Is my point. Yeah. At Millrace, where someone has an idea and it grows, and in 5 years, 15, 20 years, there's a campus really worldwide that's serving nationwide and even throughout our continent.
And we're able to accommodate that now too.
Absolutely, no question about it. So we're going to go through one more last corridor here. I believe the University Avenue. Aside from that road and its design, it needed to get done. It needed to get done because it had been neglected for a long time for various reasons, because of the state owning it and the negotiations for it to be brought within the city confines. Now, what we also can see, and we'll point out here, is that other people saw the investment in University Avenue. It being new, I'll point to that. And we have a number of businesses that even mid-construction started and actually opened during the construction season. So Craig, Natural Grocers, they came in when that corridor, it was still the old University Avenue. They're probably feeling some anxiety now because the construction's going through that part, but they knew about that.
Yes.
And they saw the foresight that that's a great corridor to have their business model succeed.
Yes, I agree. And they knew it, and from what I understand, they're doing a really good job out there. Mm-hmm. They've got a lot of clientele. They're building up a nice customer base. It's a nice store. I think the concept is good, and I think it's popular, that type of concept. And so, yes, Mayor, I think that was a good fit for that area. Absolutely.
And moving further, the redevelopment of the old Hy-Vee, unfortunately, just because of constraints of literally opening their doors just a little while ago, we have the photo down below. I know we had, with the Chamber and Alliance, a ribbon cutting last week within the store, outside and inside. What an amazing transformation over the last year and a half.
Yeah, Slumberland turned out beautiful. I was in and did the final inspection on it. I was very, very pleased with the outcome. It looks nice outside, it looks nice inside, and I think they're very excited to get started and open up and serve our citizens as well.
Couldn't agree more. Further moving on, we have the Pinnacle Prairie. This is where we sort of get into that partnership discussion in terms of UnityPoint, great partners, and I think there too, they could have gone almost anywhere within the Northeast Cedar Valley kind of region and talking to their leadership, they saw this lot of land and the folks they could serve, and they landed here in Cedar Falls. What a great attribute to them and for our city. UnityPoint, the Pinnacle Care Center, very close by. Again, that investment that they're making, and with all the discussion of healthcare, I guess I would feel a little more comfortable these kind of investments are happening in our own community. They're serving everybody, but it's a little comforting to know that they at least landed in Cedar Falls. And then the Western Home, great partnership there with all the folks that live and work and play out there.
Yes.
Just like maybe downtown. But is that coming to closer completion out there?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Phase 1 has got its occupancy permit. They've moved into Phase 1 with residents. Phase 2 and Phase 3 are both well under construction. So we're totally engaged in working with them, and it's going to turn out to be a very, very nice facility when it's completed.
Yes, it's nice to see again that transformation in the horizon as the shell is up and then the actual completion comes around.
Yep.
I'll leave the conversation one more quick area, I think, is the Viking Road with Hobby Lobby being the anchor, and you can see all those nice places as you drive through and drive by. At least my wife likes to drive by and stop, and so all that just continues, even though there's going to be some disruption coming up with Highway 58 and Viking Road construction corridor. Again, I think a little bit of pain to have more of a gain for that development and the offerings that we offer in Cedar Falls, not only for our community, but for others to come into our community, spend those dollars where we live, as opposed to other corridors around the state like Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, and up north.
And I think that's another great example, Mayor, of the council foresight. That construction of Prairie Parkway was absolutely critical to get done prior to Highway 58 and Viking Road interchange being started here this fall. So that project needed to be done in advance, and that I think the thought process was this is certainly going to spur additional redevelopment or new development along that Viking Road and Pinnacle Prairie Park corridor as well. So very key infrastructure project that the city needed to get done to advance some of those development efforts, and that medical facility cluster now is something that is really taking off.
It really is. It's very exciting. So what do we see in terms of our crystal ball into the near future? Put you guys on the spot. And really, what happens now does affect us more long term. In other words, this development that we have is created and started right now. I believe that collectively, this helps keep our tax rates low in Cedar Falls. These are companies coming in. These are folks that pay property taxes, and that keeps it down for the remaining portion of our population. And the effects of that I think are altogether positive.
Yeah, obviously the whole point of being out there in front of this and getting that new development is to try to generate that new tax base and also keep the tax rate that we have low. And that's one of our selling points when we're out meeting with clients is we do have a relatively low tax rate compared to a lot of other Iowa communities. The other thing that's really exciting is when you have these record years and you can take a client to any area of town and they see activity and they see new construction, it shows that the community is vibrant. I remember taking Ashley through town, and there is building going on downtown, on the hill, University Avenue. They were literally excited about being part of this community. And when you have that product and you have that vibrancy that's showing in all areas of town, you have a good product to sell.
No doubt about it. Quality of life, as we speak about all the time.
Absolutely.
Thanks to both of you for coming in. It's an exciting conversation for me, and I know many, many others, because it's our city, and we get to brag about it. Thank you for joining this edition of the Mayor's Corner. Have a wonderful rest of the summer.